5 seconds. Ready? Start. Mr. President, sir, I would like to express my wholehearted support to this resolution moved by the Honorable Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. In doing so, I have to draw the attention of the House to the discussions that have taken place outside this assembly. There has been a question of the competence of this assembly so far as the passing of a resolution of this kind is concerned. Before addressing ourselves to the tasks ahead, I think it is necessary for us to take up for consideration a resolution setting out the objectives for which we are assembled here. For this purpose, I do feel that our action in this respect is not contrary to what is already contained in the state paper. By this resolution, we are trying to agree with what is contained in the statement of May 16, 1946. We are not doing anything beyond the limits of the framework of what is stated in the said state paper. So far as the other points are concerned, I would like to draw the attention of the House to the fact of the sovereign rights vesting with the people of India. There seems to be some controversy going on as regards these sovereign rights, particularly in Indian states. They do not contest the fact that in British India sovereignty vests with the people of British India, and so there can be no argument against the sovereignty of the people in the Indian states as well. It is true that there are states with rulers ruling over people and also states administrating people without the rulers. But there cannot be rulers without the people. Therefore, it conclusively proves that the sovereignty of the people is a recognized fact of human activities which is demonstrated not merely by a resolution of this type but from history, which has proved all along that it is the people who own the state and who confer the administrative authority on rulers. Sir, much has been said about minorities. Instead of claiming that we are a minority of so many millions or that we are a minority of so many crores, I would suggest that we should better consider about the many more millions that are yet to be born. We are not here purely for the purpose of drawing up a constitution for the present generation only. We are here for framing a constitution for the coming generation also. So the task of framing a free Indian constitution for ourselves as well as for the coming generations makes our duty all the more difficult. Therefore, we will have to be more considerate, more responsible, more specific about our intentions. In doing so, it is within our competence, within our power, within our jurisdiction to set before us the objectives which we are working for, not only to ourselves and to our poor millions, but also to the world. Let us better states now for what we stand and for what purpose we have assembled here. This resolution clearly expresses our cherished intentions, and so I wholeheartedly support this resolution. Mr. President and friends, when we are going to frame the constitution for our land, it is but natural that we should think on what basic principles our future constitution should be framed. Therefore, I support the resolution on the fundamental principles on the constitution moved by the Honorable Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I want to draw your attention to some of the important clauses of the resolution. Besides other things, basic principles are embodied in the first part of the resolution. As far as the basic principles are concerned, I am in complete agreement with them. But I would like to tell you that these principles are enunciated not only in our constitution, but they are accepted by almost all the countries in their respective constitution. But in spite of the embodiment of these basic principles in the constitutions of various countries, and despite the declaration by their politicians that their constitutions would function according to them, we find that these principles are never practiced. If you go through the constitutions of Western countries or pursue the declarations made by their politicians and administrators, you will find that these principles in some way or other are accepted by them also. But in spite of this, we find that these empires do not practice them. Throughout Asia, we find that the European do not care to work according to these principles. Therefore, it is essential for us to consider in what way we can put them in practice. This is an important consideration for us. As I have said before, I want to draw your attention to these principles. In this respect, it is stated that we will frame a constitution for a sovereign and independent India, wherein all powers and authority are derived from the people. So far as this principle is concerned, it is very sound and every one will welcome it. But those who are students of politics know how this principle are misused in many countries. One of my friends just referred to the constitutions of England and said how the same had been misused there. Many centuries ago, a renowned politicians of England had established the principle that all powers of states are derived from the people. But the monarch of England misused this principle The monarchs indeed accepted that all powers and authority are derived from the people. But at the same time, they told the world that once the people delegated the powers and authority to the rulers, those powers no more remained with the people. Therefore, when we say all powers and authority are derived from the people, we must make it clear that the same shall always remain vested in the people. And for this reason, I attempted to put in an amendment to this effect, but for many reasons, the amendment could not be put in. Therefore, when we draft the Constitution later on, we must think over it and embody this in our Constitution. So far as the initial paragraphs are concerned, the principles embodied in them are very attractive and desirable. In some way or other, they are present in the constitutions of almost all the countries, but they are never practiced. Therefore, we must consider as to how we should translate these principles into action. It is stated here that the constitution which will be drawn up and the state which will be established on the basis of that constitution will guarantee social, economic and political justice to all the people.